I'm Dimitris Adamides, and this is RevTech podcast where we discuss everything from business processes, measurement, and technical alignment. I'm joining you as a co-host together with my friend Lacey Chapman. RevTech mission focuses on the effective management and optimization of the go-to-market strategy through methodologies, tools, and best practices. We discuss the success criteria and technical fit guides for decision making and ensure solutions align with the business goals. Before we get into today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. We all love the review, even the bad ones. You can share with us whether you enjoy it or how we can do better. Let us know. Quick disclaimer, this podcast is produced by RevOps Venture, separate work from our regular day-to-day jobs. Since this is our first podcast and we are not professional podcasters, we want to apologize for any issues we might create as we learn and optimize during the first several sessions. Okay, let's get after it. It brings me great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Nikita Zetkevich. Nikita is Director of Channel Partnership at PartnerStack. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Demetrius, I'm so glad you pronounced his last name because I would have butchered it way more than that. Nikita, it's so nice to have you here, and thanks for being one of our first podcast guests. So the first thing I
Absolutely.
want to understand is what partner stack is in our sales pitch round. So can you give us the elevator pitch?
Yeah, basically, what PartnerStack is your central partnership operating system. So what we do more tactically is we help organizations launch, scale, and automate anything from like a simple referral program to an affiliate program to a channel partner program, all the way to a technology partner and then maybe a distribution partner program. But our goal is to be the central operating system for anything that happens within the partnerships ecosystem. And so there's two core things that a lot of people think of PartnerStack and that we typically do. The first is basically we are the infrastructure. So tracking and attribution, links, leads, deal registration, resources and collateral, training and certification, payouts to partners globally. That's kind of all falling under kind of this infrastructure bucket of what we do. And the second lever really is kind of this growth lever. So basically, we have our own marketplace of over 80,000, largely referral and marketing partners that can join programs and drive business to them. And then there's kind of like a third lever that we'll probably get into a little bit later in this podcast. We can also get vendors listed in external third-party distributor marketplaces, but we'll touch on that in a little bit too. But that's the high-level elevator pitch on PartnerStack.
That makes sense. Is that second lever because lots of people do the infrastructure component of it, and I'm sure there's differentiation there, but is that second more growth lever the differentiator that you see compared to some of the other PRMs in the marketplace?
I mean, it's definitely a really big one. I'd say that there's probably to PartnerStack, there's a couple of really big differentiators. The marketplace is a huge one, right? So when you look at like tooling, sometimes it's just that, it's just tooling. So you'll get a PRM, but you won't find the partners that will ultimately drive you the business. So the marketplace is one of the biggest differentiators. You tap into a network of partners that are already selling complementary solutions on PartnerStack that could also be selling your solution, which is a win. The second big thing that I usually also talk about is payouts, partner payouts and compliance globally. Not a lot of players in the space do that. Candidly, I think it's a big miss by them. There's a lot of organizations and a lot of partner organizations that struggle to pay out their partners and make it consistent and make sure that the partners feel heard on the other side of it. So that's usually a really big differentiator. And then I think the third one, which is a little bit newer, is our ability to really kind of get vendors listed in third-party distributor marketplaces. So programs like the Pinnacle program with Ingram Micro or Constellation with Arrow Distribution really kind of extend, these mature programs and allow these programs to really blossom in mature ecosystems as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. The global payouts is one when we launched a referral program. Our legal and finance team was like, do it US only because we don't want to deal with it. So that's a big
Yeah, it's
hurdle to
it's
get over for a lot.
huge headache. Yeah, you'd be surprised the amount of organizations that I go into and we have conversations with. They're like the finance team's like, yeah, like we have a massive Excel spreadsheet, and we're tracking all of the payouts, and I'm like, man, there's definitely a recipe for disaster there, and there has been in some cases. Like, I know vendors that have paid out probably, millions in extra payouts than they should have as a result.
They really have a millions in payouts. Are they still using spreadsheets?
Yeah, 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 you'd be surprised, like, a lot of organizations, especially when you get up into the enterprise, very, very, very stuck in their ways when it comes to, the way that they're actually gonna do it. I think one of my favorite quotes was, Jay McBain, who's, obviously a big, you know, thought leader in the kind of the partnership space, you know, kind of made a call out to people a while back being like, "Hey, we need to start upgrading, our reporting, our technology across the board because some channel leaders and some partner leaders have been stuck in their way for a while, and what's worked today and should continue to work in tomorrow. But I think over the last 2 decades, we've seen direct sales leaders upgrade a lot of their infrastructure through Salesforce, and then marketing leaders do the same through like a HubSpot and a Pardot. And PartnerStack hopes to be like this next decade's solution to a lot of partner leaders too. So.
So what are the usual pains that bring to you? Like is it, oh, we can't handle the commissions anymore. We it's such a mess, or the volume of different deals, or really the pain of around like, hey, I can't find the right partner doing business and kind of do the right integrations. What is the most common, issue that is causing them to come to you?
It's a really good question. Yeah, I guess it depends. It depends on the type of program that comes to PartnerStack. So if they are launching a net new program, the first thing that they might be thinking about might be, partner recruitment. How do we find the right partners and where and what's the right situation for it? But if it is a an existing program, it could very well be, automation and processes. So I'd probably say it's a mix. A lot of organizations come to us, to automate the processes, to ensure that their tools are working together. We have integrations with, complementary solutions in the space, like Reveal, like Partner Page, like Partner Fleet, Crossbeam. So we want to make sure that those tools are working seamlessly together. But on the other side, there's definitely a good set of vendors that come to us to see if they can continue to expand in new markets or in new partner verticals as well. So I'd probably say like those are the two big ones.
Sounds good. So sounds like you're covering variety of different issues. I want to connect this with your investments and where you're going from here. From what is your funding situation, and where you're looking to get in the next funding round. Um, where are you going from here?
Yeah, no, I mean it's a great question. So PartnerStack, and I've been with PartnerStack for I think a little over 6 years since we were like 3 or 4 people, which is crazy. But we've raised a Series B, I think at a little over
Mhm.
$30 million US, which has been great. It's helped us continue to catalyze our growth. Develop, put resources into product developments, put resources into integrations and create a lot of differentiation that we haven't seen in the partner space for a really long time. There's definitely been players in the partner space that have been around for decades in some situations, and we still get our customers coming to us and saying like we're really kind of pushing the fold when it comes to innovation, when it comes to expanding their horizons, when it comes to partners, and just trying to help them drive net new revenue, which is the big thing. So that's kind of our funding round. In terms of when we're thinking of raising the next round, I couldn't tell you, top of mind. There's no plan necessarily. I think, in this funding environment, we're being really, you know, cautiously optimistic with our financials, ensuring that, we have a route and a path to cash flow profitability, and just making sure that, we're doing right by our customers, in the same vein. So, there may be a future where we, raise a Series C and continue on that path. But right now, I think the goal really is profitable growth, so that and really just really good, you know, partnership changing product developments, as a result of that. So that's kind of the focus for us at the current moment.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of companies they pivot, to profitability, being organizational, where how you're spending your money so that you don't have to raise that in the next year or so. And I think there's a lot of VCs that instructed their portfolio companies, that they should be thinking about not getting money in the next, till 25, right? So that's a pretty long horizon for a lot of companies, right? If you consider, organizations that maybe didn't have that very cautious culture around spending and continuing, obviously, the revenue growth. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are just paying attention to these things. This is extremely
Yeah.
important.
It's pretty crazy, right? Like the shift in the dynamic in the market. I think everybody is operating in a much different cadence than they were a year ago. The
Yeah.
difference in the year is I think stark for everybody in technology, especially given everything that's happened in the last 6 months. So yeah, I think we're just trying to be prudent in ways we can. Obviously, we have to part ways with some PartnerStack pancakes. It's kind of like the internal like name for a PartnerStack employee. But yeah, we're just trying to
Yep.
be prudent where we can. Yeah.
Yeah, I think is that more efficient, profitable growth changing how you're going to market at all with Partner Stack? There's marketing, sales, product partner like growth. What are the ones that you're using the most, and has that changed all over the last 6 months or so?
It's a really good question. It definitely has, for sure. I think if we were spending a whole bunch on, marketing and CTAs, that's definitely wound down a little bit over the last kind of 6-ish months. What we've seen, which has been really cool, is a really big uptick in our own channel partners. So we've had a channel partner program ourselves for quite some time. Being a partner platform, you wanna have a channel partner program of your own because I think it'd be funny if we didn't. If it'd be funny if we were preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You better
Drinking our
you better do.
yeah, yeah. It's like we got to drink our own champagne in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So we found that, especially over the last 2 quarters, our channel partners and just our strategic partnerships have really stepped up across the board. That's helped us, really mitigate any kind of slowdown when it comes to, marketing spend being decreased in favor of, you know, more profitable acquisition channels. That's been a really big win for us. So when we look at some of our strategic partnerships with distributors, for example, that's continued to work well. Our strategic partnerships with our tech alliance partners like Reveal, Crossbeam, Partnerfleet, PartnerPage, that's continued to work well as we continue to work closer together. And even, we've launched like an affiliate program of our own. Has even that's continued to, drive a lot of dividend for us. So I think when you look at like the last 6 months, there's probably a little bit less, spend on your traditional marketing channels like a Google and a paid and a search, and a lot more interest in, how do we leverage some of these partnerships to drive some of that value.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who are some of your bigger distributor partners that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, the two that we work really closely with today are Ingram Micro and Arrow, which is great because they are like what two of the top three distributors in North America, which is awesome. But yeah, we work really closely with both, hand in hand, really getting vendors up and live in their marketplace ecosystem so that we can maybe just bring down sort of some of these walls around distribution that have existed for so long, and give a little bit more clarity into what it takes to get live, what it takes to become successful. There's definitely been a lot of learnings for us over the last couple of years as we've worked with distribution, because I can guarantee you, when we started, we probably had a very different definition for success and what it took to become successful than we do now. So.
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense. And what is the best customer fit for PartnerStack? Who are the typical ICP for what you're doing?
Yeah, typical ICP is B2B SaaS-based organization, um, in the 50 to 2,500 employee range about. We obviously serve a lot of customers outside of that. We work with Stripe, Zoominfo, Vimeo, a lot of enterprise organizations into it. But that's typically like when you look at all of our customers, the average tends to skew in that kind of like 50 to 2,500 range. That's typically when, you're either looking to start or launch a partner program, or either have one kind of in its infancy stage and really trying to put some scalable resources behind it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned some of the partnerships that you already have. Are there any new ones that you're thinking about getting involved in?
Yeah. So our own partner program basically has like four core tenets. So the first is like this affiliate referral motion, which is kind of this more, more market, like more demand gen motion by its nature. The second is our agency relationships. We work with a lot of different agencies that help power different types of partner programs. That tends to skew more co-sell. The third is our distribution partnerships, and that those are the relationships with Ingram and Arrow. And the fourth is kind of our technology integration partnerships. So I think that I'm excited about all four segments. But when I think about, the two that I'm particularly excited about that'll probably drive the most, excitement in the partner space, I think it's continued investment in the technology partner space. So, you know, doing integrations with different LMS providers is going to be a really big thing for us. That'll continue to extend PartnerStack's ability to, if you're an organization that uses a specific LMS, you can integrate really deeply within PartnerStack and do a lot of the work that's there. And then I think continuing to work with distributors in the space, other big up and coming distributors, will really allow us to kind of like start bringing down the walls on distribution and specifically for like channel sales resale programs, that'll do, quite some good things. So definitely a couple of those in the pipeline that can't speak to yet, but I'm genuinely excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear about them. Yeah, on the integration on tech partner side, that's great because I think one of the concerns with the companies in that, 50 to 2,500. If you're a Stripe, you can get partners to log in to your partner portal. But if you're a 100-person company, it's a lot harder to do that. So as you start to say to partners like, hey, log into our directory platform and our PRM and our LMS system and do all of these things, it's just hard to get the buy-in there. So I think PartnerStack's done a good job of like aggregating those things into one login that the partners can take advantage of all of it in one place. So excited to hear about that.
Yeah, big time. And I think like at the end of the day, you just want a centralized experience for your partners. You don't want them going to a whole bunch of places. And
Yeah.
the worst thing about it too is just the data, right? Like if the data is in three different places, then that makes for a much more difficult job for everybody, including partner ops, which is like a new and burgeoning role that we're seeing a lot more of.
Yeah, I don't even log into all of the platforms we use internally because I find it cumbersome, and they do aggregate them in one place. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
That's a
And
classic problem. That's a classic problem. I've seen this so many times. Now I have a question regarding all the different um, categories of your partnership program. And you mentioned the agencies, and I think I observed in the past that agencies always this is like a separate, you know, category and on its own. This whole world is operating on a completely different assumptions, that the three others you listed. So do you see any particular change right now in the market in regards to um, that partnership dynamic and relationship with the agencies?
um, nothing too crazy. I'd say with the agencies that we're working with, we're definitely seeing in this market that a lot of the agencies are looking to double down on the winners in the space. So, for example, we've had a lot of agencies come to us that really want to focus on B2B, but they might be working with our competitors that work in the B2C space. So that's usually the big thing, but nothing else on my side that I've seen is like super crazy from what we have today.
Okay. Um, that's very helpful. I think we can move maybe to the next part, which is the live demo. I mean, um, is there anything particular you want to share with us that is showing how the platform is working, what you're focusing on, and what you think is really distinctive feature, among all the other solutions that we have on the market?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I'm happy to pop open PartnerStack, see and show, just the vendor view, maybe a little bit of the partner view, some of what's there on the distribution side, and just show kind of where people can find resources and assets around some of our integrations. But a lot of stuff there we can kind of dive into.
Okay, sounds good.
So there's ultimately two sides to PartnerStack. There's the vendor side, which is what you're looking at right now, and then there's the partner side. We'll flip between both. And so basically, like I talked about, PartnerStack is intended to be the central operating system for all your partner programs. And one of the central nodes is that is kind of our group's functionality. So if you wanted to run a reseller program, an affiliate program, or referral program, you can create different groups with different rewards, different messaging, different marketing collateral for those partners, all within PartnerStack. So, for example, clicking into the reseller group, you'll be able to, create an offer structure, create links that point to specific link destinations, create lead submission forms that are integrated with your CRM and are customizable to the types of inputs that you need. Create deal registration that also connects bidirectionally with your CRM and also is customizable to the needs of the resellers, or create application forms with a lot of what's there. The big things that are really unique to PartnerStack that I think we kind of talked about a little bit before are the automated payouts to compliance for partners. So our customers at the beginning of every month get an invoice for all the rewards earned by all of their partners in the prior month. So let's say it's March 1st, you would get an invoice for all the rewards in February. They would be itemized like this. Your finance team can get a report. It could be exportable by a CSV. It can push into your different accounting and billing systems that, you take a look at it, you approve it, you pay it, and then we automate the payouts and compliance for all your partners globally. And you can see that here, basically in the rewards and withdrawals, where a partner will be able to see, in different types of currencies, US dollars, euros, a bunch of other kind of currencies as well, the types of rewards, who they're actually getting paid out for. This can all be anonymized too if you'd like. The reward status, the estimated date, and the total dollar amount being paid out to them. So it provides a super clear and transparent experience for partners to be able to, one, see what's being owed to them, and then get real clarity on when that's going to be paid out. And it really takes a lot of administrative burden off of a lot of organizations to, continue to provide that information to partners on a pretty regular cadence. Now, two other things that I'll quickly talk through. We talked about our marketplace at the beginning of this podcast. Uh, our marketplace is, we have 80,000 active partners. We have over 2,000 here that have kind of opted in to be reached out to directly by different vendors with opportunities. But if you're a customer on PartnerStack, and by the way, these are just like demo fill-ins, you can come in here and actually recruit and go through different partner types that it might be a good fit for your organization. So it's really an opportunity to dive into the power of our marketplace. And we're seeing some pretty crazy stats across the board where some of our partners, some of our programs, I'd say probably the average program is driving anywhere between 27 to about 37% lift in their partner program from partners that have come through our marketplace. So this is a non-nominal add to a lot of organizations. And the last thing I'll talk through really is, our work with distribution. So, as organizations launch on PartnerStack, they might be launching, their partner portal with referral, affiliate, or reseller partners. Once they do that, they really have the opportunity to tap into, these external marketplaces, whether it's Ingram Micro Cloud, or just Ingram Micro in general, or Arrow. There's really this opportunity to tap into these large networks of reseller partners or referral partners, or like resellers that want to be referral partners through PartnerStack as well. So, we've really thought about within PartnerStack, how do we not just provide, the central infrastructure, but how do we provide a really, really, really clear path for you to work with some of your largest partners, which tend to be distributors, in a really seamless and automated fashion. So how do we really kind of bring all that together? There's more things in the demo here that we can kind of talk through, like fraud management, email campaigns, co-marketing resources, even integrations. But those things kind of that we talked about, payouts, discovery and recruitment of net new partners, and acts into distribution are, three really big differentiators that, we tend to see all the time. And I'll just even show this, like if you go to market.partnerstack.com, you'll be able to see a list of, I think it's a little over 500, 550 different vendors today that are powering their partner programs on PartnerStack. So you'll see different players here like QuickBooks, like Zoominfo, like Gorgeous, for example, where partners can find their programs and actually join it and drive business to them as well. So definitely really cool overall. And, um, it's really what makes PartnerStack more of an ecosystem company than anything else.
Yeah, all of these features are they look awesome. I think I like the fact that you have that around the distribution. A lot of companies really struggle with that. There's so many steps in the process, and I think you really simplify this. So, quick question for you: of all these features, how long it really takes the company on average to adopt this? Right, like you know, I as a former revenue operations or current or revenue operations, you can look at it in both sides. Individual, is looking for something that can quickly you can put in and plug it in, and also make sure that you can just get the benefit right away, right? And with a partner in a lot of go to market functions, like we said at the beginning, you know, the partner is not maybe getting enough attention as it should, and you need to explain everybody throughout the organization, what it does, why you think this is important, and so on, so on. So it's a lot of education process that I think it's slowing down the benefit of that implementation overall. So just curious how you see your customers adopting this, and what's the kind of tipping point where you say, okay, they're fully adopted, now they actually benefit from that solution.
That's a really great question. Most of our customers get up and live within PartnerStack in whatever shape that looks like in about 35 to 40 days. We're really proud of that figure because it takes a lot of organizations a lot longer to get portal set up, but it takes typically about 35 to 40 days to get kind of like your V1 up. And that usually means, some kind of attribution, links, lead registration, resources and collateral, the general structure of your business structure of your program. So the rewards that you're looking to pay out the partners, the application forms, the integrations with CRM. Typically, that's about 35 to 40 days. It can obviously go above and it can also be shorter depending on the
Mhm.
resources and if they're ready, if they know this is coming down the pipeline or if it's news to them. You should be surprised. Some people don't tell the revenue operations people till the last minute, which is, it's fine by me. Um, but basically, it takes them about 35 to 40 days. So the first thing that they do is they implement the actual tooling and the technology. Then they start inviting their partners into the program if they have existing partners, or they start recruiting partners into the program. I think what we look for on PartnerStack side is because we have a marketplace, we really think about like, okay, how long does it take a lot of these vendors to get to their first active partner? And an active partner is one that's generating rewards, basically. So they might be, submitting business, but if that business doesn't close, that's great, but it's not going the entire way, right? It's ultimately, whether a partner is actually generating rewards based either on margin or on commission in some way, shape, or form. That's kind of the big thing for us. Once they get to that point, and once they start seeing, success, they start, settling into, the tooling and the platform, and they start seeing just real growth in the natural revenue of their program. That's when we start to bring up things like, hey, would, listing in external marketplaces like distribution really benefit you because you've clearly figured out the motion with your existing partners today. Now I think, it's an opportunity for us to put you in a hyperscaler mode and really, accelerate some of the revenue that you're doing. Or, what about some of the integrations that we have? Do you have, a partner directory solution or account mapping solution that we can help, really drive a lot of this forward with you as well? So those tend to be like the markers that we see on our side. I'd say, 35 to 40 days to get up and live just on PartnerStack. By the time you might hit distribution somewhere in that like 60 to 90 range. That's kind of typically the flow, but every program's slightly different.
Yeah, I had a question kind of in a similar vein. I think PartnerStack's one of the more comprehensive PRMs, and who are you seeing doing the bulk of that work? Like, are you seeing that there's dedicated partner ops teams or a person implementing PartnerStack? Are the partnerships team doing the heavy lifting? Are you seeing revenue operations team lean into that? And has that changed at all in the recent wave of layoffs?
Yeah, I'd say that, it's definitely changed a little bit. I think, over the last probably year, I've definitely been seeing a lot of, partner operations people coming in that have a lot of partner operations knowledge. typically into more mature programs where, there's already a lot of revenue that's being driven and they need a dedicated individual versus continuously relying on sales ops. I do think that there's probably a time too early to bring in partner operations. You definitely don't want to over operationalize something until you've really figured out the recruit motion. You probably have a couple, partner channel managers in. I know that's probably a controversial opinion in the partnership space, but I also think like you want to make sure there's enough work for them to do, or else they'll be pulled into other, revenue operations projects. But typically, it's probably a partner operations person, or a revenue operations person, or a sales ops person that's doing the heavy lifting on setting something like PartnerStack up. Usually, sometimes maybe a developer will come in because maybe the operations people don't have like the keys to the castle when it comes to like payments infrastructure, and you need that to really make sure that you're paying out on like the right deals and the qualified deals in certain situations. But typically, it's that. I will say that, partner leaders are definitely the main ones in the room when all the business decisions are being built. So, how are we going to reward partners? Is it going to be a percentage or a flat fee? Because that ultimately changes, integrations and things like that. They're there when it comes to process flow. So it's definitely a combined effort between like the partnerships team and an operations team, wherever that may sit, partner, or sales, or revenue.
Yep, that makes sense.
So another question I have is actually, what is the most common inhibitor in implementing this solution successfully, right? I mean, it could be anyone, right? I'm always intrigued by the answers for this question because, depending where you're going to go with an application that is on the marketing side or the sales side or on the partner or renewal, you're going to have one very distinct reason, but very often they're actually connected. And that's either some organizational culture, is this like, how you think about your go to market. Maybe you don't have a really go to market strategy, that is cohesive between all these motions, right? But what is your, perspective working with the customers, on that? Just curious to hear that.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest thing that a lot of people run into is just the operations timing. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of ops teams are really in short supply, is what I'll say. It's hard to get on their kind of roster and list. If you do, sometimes they might not understand why you're purchasing an external solution. They might try to spin up something internally, and that might be a blocker. And so, I think getting getting aligned with your ops team early on is like a really big benefit from the programs that I see that actually launch, portals like PartnerStack. Um, the big thing is if you have really good alignment with them, you're the person they're gonna be the person that's gonna be connecting this to all of the other tools that you use internally, like maybe like a CRM like Salesforce or HubSpot, for example. And PartnerStack's value is only multiplied once you do that.
Mhm.
So, we working really closely with HubSpot today, and we found that we have like almost like a 99% retention rate when it comes to vendors that
Oh,
are
wow.
on HubSpot, for example. It's crazy, right? But like if you connect your CRM, you almost the value that you're getting from PartnerStack is so dense, basically, that
Yep.
there's no point in leaving, basically. Um, so yeah, just making sure that you keep them in the loop that, hey, like this is coming down the pipeline. You might need to make time for it at this point in time, and they're involved in the process. Typically, when they're involved in the process, there's a higher likelihood that it'll actually get stood up. The integrations will be done, in a faster and seamless manner, and it'll kind of get going. That's typically like the biggest blocker. I guess the second biggest blocker is, people also just tend to hesitate sometimes in a lot of situations. Probably like the second biggest thing is people just never make a decision on tooling. So they're like, yeah, I guess what's working today kind of works, and it continues to kind of work for a couple of years until the leadership changes, and then you know it's the leadership that's probably scaled technology, and so they come in and they're like, I don't know what we've been doing for the last 2 years. We got to change all of this, right? So to Jay McBain's point, a couple of months back, or if not a year back at this point, like I think as partner professionals, you know we have to level up our operations and the tooling that we use. I think a lot of sales teams would not manage, you know, account executives or SDRs or BDRs out of spreadsheets anymore. I think that would be I think if, you know, you kind of be laughed out of a room. And I think, we're getting to that point on the partner professional side where it's like, okay, we're still doing this on spreadsheets. It used to be a badge of honor. I don't think it is as much anymore. You know?
No, it's a
Well,
pain
depends.
to do it.
Yeah.
I was gonna jump in and say I can tell you all the reasons we haven't done it yet, and one is it's just like the operations teams having the cycles to implement it, and then sometimes you'll hear we can just do all this in Salesforce, and it's like no you can't. So I think there's a little bit of like an educational process there across the ops teams, and then just getting into their cycles.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think there's a little fallacy around this. I agree with you. Um, and I've been in that camp for some time too. So I'm just that's uh my thing. You will learn a little bit about me. But I think there is this fallacy around, oh, we can do this, until you realize you can't, and then you are halfway through engaging your resources,
yeah.
and then you set for failure essentially, right?
Yeah.
Because you know that you can't replicate something that is already so advanced that in order to get there, you will need to literally replicate what is the other company's product, right? And
Yeah.
at the basic level, some native reporting that can help, maybe handle this through the spreadsheets. But eventually you're going to get into a bigger problem, and that's where, your effort is essentially squandered, right? So that's the problem sometimes with the operations, right?
Big time, right? And Lizzie brings up a phenomenal point, right, about Salesforce, for example. Ops teams see their Salesforce licenses and they're like, we could do all of this in Salesforce. We could do all of this in our CRM, which is fine. But listen, I've seen large enterprise organizations that have come, have taken that same mentality, have spent millions of dollars over multiple
Right.
years. I think uh, I can think of five off the top of my head. I'm not going to name them. That have tried and started Salesforce partner and program implementations and have either not have not done anything in those kinda, like, 2, 3 years, or, it is a fraction of what they should have done in the time that they should have, right? So it's like, it's expensive, right? And it's expensive, it's long, it's theoretically, it's possible. We're in the world of software. We're like, theoretically, anything's possible. If you really wanted to, you can go out and build a partner portal on your own, get a couple developers, and do all that stuff. Telling you, the enterprise companies that have done it all regret it, because at a certain point, those resources get taken off the project. You have a really hard time finding those resources again. And then if you want to make changes to your partner portal or your program or whatever, everything's hard coded, and there lies, you start building up some real technical debt for sure.
Yeah, needless to mention, you probably don't have a documentation created for that, so you're running into multiple problems. I agree with you, and I think you mentioned also another very important item around, um, having more cohesive approach to your systems, right?
Mhm.
You have to have an architecture set for the entire company, and you have to be able to, uh, categorize them between those that that are fundamental for your business and those that are optional. And I think as you're doing this, you also realize what are the areas that you don't have anything, supporting that part of your go-to-market strategy, or principles or objectives. And partner is one of them. Channel partner is one of them. And if you do this properly, very likely you're going to reserve the space and the resources and money to fill that gap. If you don't do this, you very likely will you will fail in that whole architecture, and you will be on the back foot trying to catch up, with your competitors, right, on that front.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. And this is me just saying, it doesn't have to be PartnerStack. I want it to be PartnerStack, but there's a lot of tools in the space, right? Just as long as it's something, as long
Exactly.
as we're as a collective, working and upgrading, the tooling and the processes that we have to work with partners, it ultimately leads to us driving a lot more revenue and just better partner programs and mature partner programs and more success in the industry as a result. So I'd love for it to be PartnerStack. I think it should be PartnerStack, but across the board, I think my message is more, we gotta do better as a collective.
Yeah. I mean, before we go to the uh, rest of the product of the session, I want to ask you, if you would need to call out one single metric that you recommend your customers, to pay attention while they're deploying your system and your solution, what that would be?
Is it just deploying our system or just the partner programs in general?
I think in partner program that you definitely can facilitate through your system. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like the biggest thing for me is revenue. I know that there's a lot of like different like themes on this around like influence, for example, which is important for sure. I think influence should be tracked, but I think a lot of the metrics that I advise a lot of our customers should mimic a lot of the expectations of the organization, and a lot of those expectations tend to lead to revenue. So if there's a way to talk about partner sourced as a central single metric. I think that's a really big one. I think especially in these times, a lot of organizations are looking for, hey, how can you help us drive revenue? I think influence is a great metric that shows like, hey, these partners were involved in some way, shape, or form. But in today's times, especially when the CFOs have a much larger stake at the table, they're looking for direct attribution to revenue. And so partner source has almost taken all of the air out of the room. And that's a really big thing that I advise a lot of people on. How do you directly correlate a lot of the revenue that's coming from these partners to close revenue for your organization? That's number one, for me personally.
Agreed.
Yeah. Um, and I think PartnerStack obviously helps with that because you have reporting that will show exactly what that source revenue is. You're not digging and trying to find that, which is great. So what's next for PartnerStack? What's on the product roadmap, and what are you excited to be releasing that you can share?
Yeah. Few things. We're going to continue to expand a lot of our functionality within the reseller space, which I'm particularly excited about. I think that that's been a long time coming. We've always been really good in the marketing and the referral partner space, like so solution partners, agencies. It's always been kind of our niche, but we really want to dive into really creating a strong experience for the reseller partners, which would mean more functionality around things like orders and license management, like that kind of stuff. Which, we haven't traditionally done today, but we're excited to continue down the line with. I think some of our work with distribution and automating a lot of those integrations is going to be particularly exciting on the product front. And honestly, the thing that I'm most excited about, and like I know I've said this a bunch of times, but like, is our marketplace. I think our marketplace is a huge differentiator, and the work that we do with partners will help a lot of organizations navigate some of the difficult times that are here. So if we can continue to bring down, the walls of distribution and make it easier for companies to connect to partners in our ecosystem, that'll be the biggest thing that differentiates us across the board. Um, the conversations we're going to be having versus maybe even our competitors or anybody else is they're going to be ROI conversations versus tooling conversations. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we can make these introductions to these 5 partners in the next 2 weeks if you launch on a partner stack, which we can actually do, which is phenomenal. We've got some great leadership on our partner success team that typically handles the network on partner stack. But that's what I think about is like how do we drive in this economy in these times? How do we drive more with less? And really, it comes down to how do we as partner stack make it really easy for the vendors on our network and our platform to create better connections with partners that ultimately lead to revenue outcomes.
Yeah, and it has such a great echo effect because if you start using PartnerStack and your partners aren't really using it, you have to kind of educate them on using the platform itself. But if you already have partners that are using PartnerStack and you make that introduction, they're already used to using it. There's more immediate return. So it's a win-win for both PartnerStack and the company adopting it, which is great.
Big time.
Uh,
We've even had some partners like, some of our network partners that don't necessarily promote PartnerStack end up coming to us and like anecdotally joining our referral program to refer some new vendors that they might be working with today. Because we give them like this unique opportunity to sort of consolidate a lot of like the tooling. So like, PartnerStack's unique in the fact that you don't actually have to log in and out to manage multiple programs. You can just switch between the programs you're in today. So if you're like a HubSpot agency that's selling 7 different solutions, you can manage all 7 in one place and then consolidate your accounting around those solutions and those payouts in an easy way. So we've had some partners that are like, yeah, I would love to refer this software, but they have to come on a PartnerStack to do it, which has been particularly cool.
yeah, yeah, that's great for you guys for the pancakes. Um,
Thank you.
And so AI is obviously a hot topic as of late, which makes sense with a lot of the macroeconomic things happening, forcing efficient and profitable growth. How are you incorporating AI into the platform and or utilizing it internally to help with what you're doing?
That's a phenomenal question. So there's a couple different ways. The first is actually a thread off of what I just kind of talked about. So a smart matching algorithm between our vendors and our partners. We have a lot of data. So as you can imagine, we have 80,000 active partners. We have over 1 million partners that have ever logged in, and like probably over 2 million that actually have an account on PartnerStack, but over 80,000 active. Um, and we want to create, a smart matching algorithm that really connects a lot of those partners to basically the vendors that are there. So we're really trying to deploy AI in helping create some of those connections in a really easy way. So hey, you're selling these 5 solutions that are complementary to this, or you might have an integration with this solution. You should be selling both. That's kind of the biggest one. But additionally, like automatic deal registration, data and information gathering on partners that you might not have in other external toolings as well. So that's kind of how we're thinking about leveraging AI today. But still definitely pretty early on in that process, and we'll be kind of figuring out more as it comes on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's a good way to start using it. I'm excited to see what everyone starts doing with this to make some of those matchings easier, make some of the chat functionality or messaging easier. So it'll be interesting to see where everything goes over the next few months.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Like the smart matching is like that's like I think that, between the marketplace and the smart matching, like that's kind of like the holy grail of partnerships. If you are just starting a partner program, you launch on PartnerStack, you get the infrastructure set up, and then we can tell you, hey, here are these 5 partners that sell integrated solutions that are a good fit for you to start with. It changes the game. I think, the most consistent problem that I've heard people in partnerships talk about, whether it's channel chiefs or technology partners, is, you know, how do we find better or good revenue producing partners? I think a lot of the tooling has helped automate the processes that come as a result of finding those partners, but very few actually help you find them. And so, if we can do that, then I think we start, really transitioning a lot of what's there. Um, but there's also some really cool experiments that we're also tackling with some of our distributors. So there's one really cool one, which is like a lead pass, where we're taking leads that might come from like top of funnel partners, like a referral and affiliate partner, and pushing it straight down to resellers. So it's like a full end to end experience that started with maybe like an affiliate referral partner, but ultimately ended up with a reseller partner. So it's all kind of happening in the partner ecosystem in some way, shape, or form.
You just took the words out of my mouth because I was going to say it'd be great if you could look at the customers or leads that we have and recommend them directly to partners because that's one of the harder things to do is you want to give back to the partners that you're working with, and it's often hard to figure out what is that match when you have 10, 20,000 customers. So you're automating some of that process, which would be incredible.
Yeah. I almost think like if we could do that, that would be pretty cool. Because if partner teams, like affiliate partners or referral partner teams generated the demand, they took that demand and then pushed it down to the resellers with the channel sales team. I mean, you have a pretty automated motion. And these resellers, they could now, they could get certified. They would be certified on your tooling
Yeah.
and how to sell it, right? And so that's a fully automated motion that, produces probably much more efficient results than, doing something direct, but definitely still a lot more to explore there.
So we don't need sales and customer success anymore, is what you're saying. Partnerships can just rule the world. I'm kidding.
I mean, in a theoretical world, maybe. I think it's definitely still a long time until anything like that becomes reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's proving a lot, on the cost side as well, right? The ROI definitely in that model would be, proving that your platform is great, because you really you're really solving the fundamental problem where that should go. And if you already know where that should go, you're probably not spinning wheels with some other teams on the back end trying to figure that out,
Yep.
delaying and probably putting at risk that deal, right? So time really matters here, right? And I think that's where the AI is extremely helpful because you don't have to go through the tedious and sometimes inconsistent, elimination process or qualification process. If this can be done based on the large amount of data or information that has been used in the past, I think it's just, yeah, very cost effective. So every transaction that is going through a platform will have a lower cost and therefore higher ROI. And I think that's a great value for the customers.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's kind of where we want to get to. So we'll see. I think it's now on us to deliver a lot of those features and functionality, and so we're excited for it. And it's definitely on us. But yeah,
Yeah, I have a question actually on the AI part. We're asking this also our friends and the people we're working with, you know, how you think the AI will change the way we work, right? It's not only in your platform, but I think in general, working in sales with salespeople, with the leaders, definitely that's something that we're wondering, right? AI at some point will be ubiquitous. It's going to be really hard to even see whether that is AI or you know, something else. So, how you think, that our work will change, especially in the partner world, um, going forward.
yeah. So great question. I mean, I think AI I don't know. I can't point to one specific thing that AI probably wouldn't touch when it comes to our working world. I think depending on how far we decide to go with the technology, it can probably replace all of us at some point in time in one way, shape, or form. Um, but I think in the short term, when I think of short term, I think like next 5 years. I think that we're going to see a lot of tools incorporate AI to take a lot of the administrative burden off of a lot of people. So things like, filling in and updating Salesforce for, account executives or salespeople. I think, Dooley and some of the other Scratchpad and some of the other tools there have like a really big opportunity to, maybe it's direct to call update, based on, the feeling that the AI gets on, the chance that that vendor will close or the notes that are there that ultimately also change it to the stage. Like, I think we'll definitely do a lot less of the stuff that we don't want to do necessarily. But I also think that there's definitely potentially some roles that might not exist that exist today. That if done well, could potentially be fully automated. So I don't necessarily know which roles those are yet. But seeing some of what's been built and what people are building within the AI community, um, there's definitely a lot of that. I also think I think we're still very much in the early stages. I think we're still all trying to figure out how AI can help us in a lot of different ways. So there's definitely a lot for us to figure out there.
Sounds good.
Cool. Last but not least, you just mentioned a few companies, but anyone that you want to give like kudos to in the industry, or other companies that you think are doing something that's really cool and you want to give a shout out to?
It's a good question. There's definitely a bunch. I think when it comes to our integration partners, I'm gonna call out all of our partners in general. I think Ingram Micro and Arrow doing a phenomenal job on the distribution side, and then our technology partners, CrossStream, Reveal, Partner Page, Partner Fleet, are really kind of pushing the needle when it comes to partnerships in general. When it comes to partner programs, they're doing incredibly well. I look at Money.com and CallRail. Those are some of my internal inspirations as well too. And then yeah, like those are the big ones on my side. I think. Uh, there's a cool organization called retention.com in the Shopify ecosystem. I know their founders well, and I'm always kind of impressed by some of the work that they do to build in public. So I'll give them a shout out as well too. So, but those are the ones that come top of mind for me.
Have to look into them. Our old colleague went
Me
to
too.
Callrail and is running their partnership. So happy to
Oh,
hear them
phenomenal.
doing such a good
Yeah,
job.
absolutely.
Yeah, what's interesting? CallRail is, my personal connection to CallRail was when CallRail was initially looking for partner platforms, they didn't initially choose PartnerStack. And I remember having the conversation with the person choosing, and I'm like, the decision you're making, this is a mistake. And I remember saying that. And we had waited 6 months, and then I remember she was looking around in the market, and I messaged her, and she's like, I don't know how you found out I was looking. But yeah, like that the tool that we picked didn't work. The integration didn't work, and we're back on the market. And I remember spending this was like peak COVID. So COVID had hit as I don't know if people remember, but like budgets froze. And people did not know what was going on. People were not buying anything for the first 2 months of COVID. And I remember sitting down with, I think, the director of operations at the time and some VPs and just being like, Nikita, is this going to work? And I'm like, yes, it's going to work. I promise you this is going to work. And, you know, 3 4 years later now, it's 3 years later now, they're, seeing a tremendous success on PartnerStack. So that's a really cool example. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a huge
story.
channel partner program, so I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's it for our episode with Nikita with PartnerStack. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this gave us a really good overview of what you're doing and your insights on the industry. So we appreciate you coming and joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Lizzie, Dimitris. I'm happy to come back anytime and continue the conversation.
We're looking forward to it. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.